Hi again. Welcome back to the GarageBand tutorials. This time we're going to use the live composition option. So please go ahead and hit GarageBand, the one with it'll open up and we're going to create a new song. We're going to go ahead to the plus sign. And we have two options. We have live loops and we have tracks. I want to be on the tracks option, which I'm on right now. It should look like this. You may see any one of these instruments. Now, this isn't the most practical way to compose, but we're going to try it because it does give you the most creative freedom. We have to play the instruments ourselves using the iPad, kind of like the iPad is your instrument. So for this option, we're going to start with rhythm because most good tracks will start with rhythm. Now you'll notice we have this neat little drum set here. I can change drum sets by hitting the name. And I have all these options. For this one, let's do retro rock, just for fun. And then I'm going to want to come up with a beat that I like. Now you always want to have a bass, and you always want to have something a little higher. I recommend the snare drum on your left-hand side. The toms are more for ornamentation, as are the cymbals. I'm going to keep it simple, as I recommend you would, and I'm just going to use two drums. Sometimes less is more. We're going to use bass and snare drum. So it's going to go. Now maybe I like that little riff. I can go ahead and record that into GarageBand now. It's going to give me a 4-beat count off, and then I have to have both fingers ready to play, just like it's a real instrument. You have to come in real time, and that's what's tricky about this mode. And I hit the recording button to stop it from recording again. Now I have this loop that I've created. I want to look at it as a track, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the track view in the top left-hand side. It's the one with the bars. And it shows me the track I made. Now I see that it's not exactly as I want it, so what I can do is shorten it up and move it a little closer to the beginning because I started a little late. Now let's say I play it back and I really like how it sounds. Okay, if I don't want to re-record it, which is absolutely an option, if you don't like what you did, you can always double click on it and then hit delete, but I'm not going to do that for the purpose of this. So let's say I'm done with that. I need some more tracks because just drums would be kind of boring. So I'm going to click on the icon that has the 3 little squares. And that brings me back to my live instruments. The next thing I want to click on is keyboard. That gives me a whole multitude of options to choose from. I'm going to click on the name, Filtered Octave Bass, and look at the possibilities for a bass line. I have all these different options, but it's very important that I match the style. So we did kind of a funky vintage drum set, so I need something funky and vintage to match that funky vintage drum set. I'm not going to want to use something that's R&B or rock related as much. So hip-hop sub bass probably wouldn't work, but I think that retro bass would, since it fits the style, the musical genre of my drums. So I come up with a riff that I like. I could just pick C and G for this composition. C and G are very good notes that go together well in this sort of situation. So I'm going to go ahead and move the cursor so it's at the beginning, ready to record. I'm going to hit the record button, and I think, let's say every 2 measures, I'm going to change the key. So go from C to G to C. Ready? 2, 3, 4. Then I switch. And let's just say that I came up with the perfect bass line. Now, you probably won't your first time, but if I'm happy with what I've done, I can go back to track view, drag the cursor to the beginning, press play, and see how it all sounds together. If you don't like it, you can always delete it. You can also make it loop. You can copy it and paste it again. You can make it longer. There's lots of different things you can do, and I encourage you to explore some of the different options on the top right-hand side for things you can do if you're interested in that. So once I have a few tracks down, let's say I add one more thing. Let's add leads, and then we'll do vintage lead. Drag it to the beginning, record it. And let's just say I like that. Go back to the beginning, play it. I'm happy with it. Then I would go back to my songs once I'm happy with everything I've done and bring it to the producing or the sharing station. Thanks for listening and happy composing.